Thanks for tuning in to our Facebook Live. This is Marylee Nunley, the founder of Retreat and Refresh Stroke Camp that then became United Stroke Alliance, where we're about prevention, awareness, and recovery from stroke. And as I think most of you know, all of this started a few years after my husband's stroke and my need to connect with others and to learn what it was like to live with stroke. Good morning, Terry Peterson. We have somebody in Arizona, bright and early. It's early in Arizona. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we are going to, I'm going to have a conversation with my mother. She was born in May of 2018 on her mother's birthday. She was the sixth of 7 children, the sixth daughter. She grew up on a farm in rural Farmington, Illinois, which is about 20 miles from where we live now. She survived the Spanish flu. She was born during the Spanish flu pandemic. Amazing. She survived World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, 9/11, and many other interesting things in this 102 years, which brings us to today. So I'm happy to introduce my mother, Mary Herrick. And we've been laughing this morning because video is not her friend. But maybe if you're 102, video is never your friend. What do you think? So I just have a list of questions. If something pops up, good morning, Georgia. I'm seeing your name, so maybe you've rectified your problem. I've got a list and things, but I don't know where we're going to go. I'll try and watch the monitor for your questions if you have them. Good morning, Bobby. Bobby's watching us this morning, Granny.
Oh, how nice.
I've always been Granny to my grandchildren. She's always been Granny. And because they were so similar, my grandchildren called her Great Granny. We kind of dropped the great a little bit. So anyway, I just wanted to start out talking a little bit about her life and growing up. And she was the 6th daughter. So she was the 6 girls. And I just wanted her to talk about a little bit about what it was like growing up with all those older sisters.
It was wonderful. I'm very fortunate to have had that many sisters. I never gave the much thought the fact that I was the youngest until you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But as I think about it, it had an impact on my life. The fact that, of course, all of us, we always did things together, on the 6 of us, and we were very close. 2 of my sisters, older sisters, one married and left home, and one went to be a nurse, so that left me actually with just the 4 of us.
Because your oldest sister was what, 16 when you were born?
She was 16
when you were born.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they taught me a lot. I learned a lot from them, and we shared a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to say about
well, no,
having sisters.
Yeah.
It's very special to have sisters, I tell you. And we were always very close.
And you always got along. I mean, even I didn't know until I was old enough to know all my aunties, but
we argued sometimes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what I saw was a bond.
Overall, we shared many things together.
Yeah. When you were 4 years old, your mother produced a boy, finally.
Yes.
And so talk a little bit about what it was like to be 4 years old and have a baby brother. Were you ever jealous? Talk a little bit about having the one boy with all those girls.
Oh, how could I be jealous? Oh, it was a special day when we finally got a boy in this family of 7 children. And I was excited. I loved it. I thought the baby was special, and I really enjoyed watching him grow up.
Okay.
I never jealous of him. My goodness, no. He was very special.
Yeah, nice. One of the I've had a few people ask me to ask certain questions, and one of the things, and I gave her these questions yesterday, but she said she can't remember anything she thought of yesterday. But I want to talk about this because I think the way we think of Christmas today, I think it would be fun for you to tell us what your best recollection of Christmas growing up. And then Georgia wanted to know, do you have any special Christmas gift that stands out, if you do fine, if you don't fine, but what was a typical Christmas holiday like when you were growing up? Say you were, somewhere between 8 and 12, along in there.
Oh, it was exciting. Christmas was a very, very special time, and we had, of course, all the special things that each individual family would do. I remember especially one Christmas when I got a set of dishes.
Ooh.
Real dishes, not plastic, regular. And I was so excited. I grabbed it and I went over to my mother and I said, look. And then sometime in the following year, I realized who was really Santa Claus. And I was sort of embarrassed to think that I had shown my mother what she had given me. But I think the one I remember the most is when I got a doll, a beautiful doll with real hair. And we always hung our on the back of a chair. Then they would put the gifts on the chair and then fill the stocking, see. And sitting on that chair was this beautiful doll with real hair. And the stocking, they didn't put gifts in the stocking. At that time, oranges and bananas were very special. We didn't have them very often. So we would always get an orange in the toe of our stocking, and maybe a banana sticking out the top, and some candy, and that kind of thing in the stocking. And then the actual gifts would be on the chair and around on the floor.
Mm-hmm. That's fun. Okay, all right. I learned something that I didn't know. When you and I were visiting the other day, we were talking about, I was talking about entertaining yourself, how you and your sisters entertained yourself. You lived on a farm, so you could go outside and play in trees and all that sort of thing. But you started talking about coloring in paper dolls. So I want you to tell my audience what you were telling me about coloring, which blew me away, and then how you did paper dolls.
Well, we didn't have regular paper dolls until I was a little older. So we would cut out figures out of the cat and then make them close. Take a piece of paper and lay it down on the figure and draw a dress, and then take it away and cut it out and leave little flaps so that we could fold it down over their shoulders and they could be wearing the dress. But half the fun was decorating the dress, coloring it, and designing it, and making them a whole closet full of clothes. We didn't have very many crayons, of course. We had the usual 8.
8 crayons.
Oh, I remember the excitement when I got a box of crayons with 36 colors.
Oh.
You know, it would have like pink, colors that you never thought of before. That was...
We're not answering.
No, we're not answering the phone.
Chuck Jones just asked a question. Did you have any household chores as a child? Or if you did, what was your household chore?
Oh, no, I didn't really have any chores.
You had 5 sisters.
Yeah. I helped with a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
I was excited when my sister set me up on a box and let me wash dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of, but I don't remember ever doing household chores, dusting, or anything like that, no.
You were in high school during the Depression, and I know my granddaughter interviewed you a little bit about this for a school project. Talk a little bit about what the Depression, how it impacted you a little bit, and maybe being in high school during those years.
Well, yes, I think it impacted me to the point that nowadays when I turn off the light, somebody will say, that's because you lived through the Depression. And it does.
That's true.
It affects you the rest of your life. You're very careful.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't suffer much during the Depression. I think the idea was that we were all in the same boat. Like at high school, if I didn't have a nickel for a candy bar, none of my friends did either.
Mm-hmm.
And we all wore the same clothes over and over, and it was about, let's see, it would be 10 cents to go to a football game. 15 cents would get us to a movie, but, we just, well, for one thing, I remember we couldn't afford shampoo, so we would take the bars of soap, the pieces left after we'd used up the bar, put them in a jar of water, hot water, and dissolve it, and that was our shampoo. So we made do with a lot of things like that. But actually, the whole impact of the Depression was not that bad. No, we all adjusted in our lives to live that way because that's the way it was.
And I think because everybody was in the same boat,
Right.
You didn't feel like you were like
No.
poor because everybody
No.
was poor.
No, I never felt poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone wanted me to ask what it was like for you to go on dates when you were in high school or after, in the late 30s and early 40s. What was a typical date like? 'Cause you were quite the girl. You were quite the girl.
Oh yeah, I dated a lot. I think dating was more informal in those days. You go out with the same guy maybe a couple of times, go to a movie, or some of the popular places to go at that time were, and I don't know what to call it. I think one of them was called the Rainbow Gardens, and it was a big room with tables and chairs around the edge and a jukebox. And there was a bar, but you could get into this without going to the bar, or you could go through the bar and pick up a drink. So we'd get drinks and go, maybe 2 or 3 of us, go dance to the jukebox and sit there and visit. And then on weekends, often they would bring in a band, and then we really had a crowd, then all the dates would come. But there were, I bet there were 3 or 4 of these places.
Nearby?
Yeah, one was farther away, a couple in Canton where we lived, and like somebody would maybe say, let's go down to the Rainbow Gardens tonight, and that was a date.
It was group. It was
mostly group. Yes,
groups.
Yes, I never dated one guy that long. Well, we dated in pairs a lot too.
Yeah. Okay.
Or maybe there'd be 6 of us. Maybe,
okay. Yeah.
all go out together just to have fun.
Yeah.
Dating wasn't that serious
at that time. Okay. All right. Let's see. How did you meet my father?
Oh.
Let's move on.
All right. I was working for the Illinois Bell Telephone Company, and next door was a little hamburger place where he was a fry cook. And when we would have a break from the telephone office, we'd run downstairs because it was right next door to us. And we'd go down maybe and have a Coke or a cup of coffee or something. He'd be in the window frying hamburgers. And we would look at each other and kind of talk a little.
Good morning, residents.
Hold on.
There will be regular sitter size at 10 o'clock on the 3rd floor.
Okay.
That is regular sitter size at 10 o'clock on the 3rd floor.
We get a break. We could go to sitter size at 10 o'clock if we wanted.
Thank you very much.
That's okay. That's okay. They take good care of my mama here. So anyway, he was a fry cook.
Yeah. And he all told me afterwards that he gave me one look, and we talked a little bit, and he went in the back room and he said to his buddy in the back room, "That's going to be my girl."
Someone just asked what was the name of the restaurant.
Brown's Snappy Service.
Brown's Snappy Service, and
It was there for years.
the folks, it carried on for a couple more generations, and we used to go down there and where my mom and dad met. But I think the pandemic, but haven't heard for a while. So that was kind of fun. So you married, you did not date very long. You knew he was the one and he knew you were the one.
We dated for 4 months.
And then you got married. On what day did you get married? I think this is fascinating too.
Oh, geez, what was it?
D-Day, wasn't it? December 7th.
December 7th. December 7th. Yeah, we heard about the declaration of war on our way on our honeymoon after we had got married at home, and we took off for Chicago for a short honeymoon, and on the way we heard that war had been declared.
And my dad went off to war fairly shortly, and see what it says here. It changed names this year. Bobby says, Brown Snappy Service changed names this year.
Oh, thank you, Bobby.
So my dad went off to war. How did you, as a young bride and family, with your family nearby, how'd you cope when all that happened and all that came down?
We never worried about the war too much until actually he got a notice that in 30 days he was
Okay.
he was going to leave. I wrote a letter every day, tried to keep as busy as I could. Of course, I had a job, but every day I would write to him and tell him what I was doing and how much I missed him, and then he'd write back. So probably the letters were the big connection there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think you've kept a lot of those letters.
Oh yes, I kept them
Because
all.
a long time ago, I read some of those, and it was quite nostalgic and quite interesting.
Yeah.
And as many of you know, my father was killed in a car accident when I was very young, and she had 3 children, so I wanted her to talk a little bit about what she remembers in coping with kind of that tragic time, but coming out with a good family relationship and 3 pretty terrific kids.
That is true. I'll give you credit.
I set that up, didn't I?
Well, I'm the kind that puts things that happen to me in the background and don't think about them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
When something bad happens, I live through it and do what I must to do. When everything's over and kind of settled down, then I say, that's done. That's my past. Now I'm going on. And then we would move on, and I remember sitting down with the girls and Rodney, of course, and telling them that life wasn't over. We were going to go on. Oh, when
Nobody ever calls you.
no. And life would just go on, and I just never thought about that much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I just shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Might not have been the best thing to do, but that was just my nature,
Mm-hmm.
is to put stuff behind me and move on to whatever's coming.
And even though you didn't teach that, you modeled that, because I'm kind of the same way I can go back and talk about it if somebody wants to talk about the things, but I'm kind of like, let's live in today and let's look forward. So even though you didn't teach it necessarily, I think there's a lot of things that I think as parents we model, even though we don't teach, we model those things, and then we figure
pick
it out.
up living with it.
Then we figure it out a little bit later. So, a question that Georgia I asked, and this one you didn't have yesterday, but she wanted to know on the positive side of all the things that you've experienced since living, in the early 1900s all the way now. What are 1 or 2 of the profound occurrences in life that maybe made a shift, or that you were just blown away? Okay, can you think of any of those?
You don't mean personal things. You
No,
mean things, yes.
I mean global.
Like Lincoln's the first flight.
Okay. The what's your face's flight?
Yes, flying alone overseas, yes.
Yes,
Lucky Lindy,
Lucky Lindy, okay.
yes, yes, that. And, let's see, the wall, when they broke the wall
Okay.
between East and
Broke
West
down the
Germany.
when
Yeah.
they broke down the German wall.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Let's see, what else? There are other things I can't think of right at the minute, maybe they'll come to me.
It's just, one thing that I remember, to be like 89, and I think she died in 67. And I remember us talking about, she came from horse and buggy where they did, and no electricity, to getting electricity and all of that, clear up until we had, didn't we have some, astronaut stuff going on in the mid-60s?
Oh, yeah.
To the moon. She
yeah.
made it all the way from horse and buggy
Yeah.
to knowing someone went to the moon.
The first, when Glenn went around the world,
Orbited around the moon.
yeah, he orbited,
Mhm.
yeah, because I was working in the post office and we had, sheets of stamps, new stamps that had just come in, and we weren't allowed to sell them until he had completed this around the.
Oh, so you had,
The minute we knew he had landed, we got the stamps out to sell.
Yeah.
But we waited and waited. It was exciting to see.
Well, you were a telephone operator for years, and then after my father died, you were blessed with a job that kind of fell into your lap, working for the post office, and you did that for about 20 years.
You're right. You're right.
And it served her well because she worked for 20 years and she's been collecting retirement for 40.
And I give the post office some pointers on how to improve their service.
I know you could.
Sorry, I just had to throw that in.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Let's talk a little bit about volunteer work, because that is, you modeled some of that, and that's impacted my life. And thinking back all the way through your life, what kinds of volunteer things have you participated in that kind of went one thing and another, kept you busy and out of trouble?
All camps, mostly. Church camp, every church camp, the CF camp, when they had the stroke camps.
Yeah,
I went to all of them, every one I could.
Mm-hmm. You did.
And
she was the early morning make the coffee person.
Yeah, you betcha.
She slept in the lodge, and then she would have the early morning coffee. People were quite fond of her.
I love the volunteer part because of all the wonderful people I met and bonded with. Meant a lot to me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Then later, years later, I signed up to volunteer with the Methodist Hospital in Peoria, and I was what they call a surgical hostess, where I sat at a desk in the surgical waiting room so that people would have contact with their family member who was in the hospital, and I could tell them, I could give them a report on the condition and all of that. I enjoyed that a lot too.
Mm-hmm. I've got a couple of questions, but if anybody watching has a question, you can send it now, and I'll try and catch it here on my iPad and see if we can answer any last questions. But this one, again, looking back in your lifetime, what is maybe an invention that really maybe changed your life, or you really enjoy, or you glad something was invented that maybe you didn't have when you were very young?
Oh, the cell phone. Oh, I loved it when we didn't have to run around and hunt up a telephone to call home and ask for something. It was right wherever we were, and I was in touch with everybody all the time. I loved that. That was the big thing.
That was the big thing. Okay.
That was the big thing.
She used to really like her iPad, but she does like Facebook.
Oh yeah.
She does like Facebook. Except when she gets a video of me, and I'll come over and she'll say, "I can't get rid of you."
That's true.
Because my video will be playing, and she doesn't remember what to tap to get rid of me.
I'm not very technical.
Oh, you're wonderfully technical for you never even worked on a computer your whole life.
That's true.
So you don't, you know,
I
all
had
the back stuff.
I had a lot to learn and wonderful children to teach that to me. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for how they have led me through all these years trying to learn something.
Because you do your DVD player, you do DVR, and you stream from Netflix.
Oh yeah,
Just saying.
oh yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of hundred to do that. Independent.
Oh, I don't know.
Now, occasionally she will make a phone call to me
Yeah.
for a little assistance. I'm her technical assistant. We couldn't come. She's in an apartment at Independence Village here in Peoria, and for about 5 months, 5.5 months, we couldn't come in. So we had to try and handle things remotely. And it used to be when she'd have technical problems, I just pop over. I live about 4 blocks away, so I could be here in less than 5 minutes. So that was a little bit of a challenge for all of that. Oh, Chuck wants to know, how did you get to school?
How did I get walked?
Well, okay.
All the way clear through high school.
And that was about, did you live on the hill? Where'd you live?
Yeah.
In high school, out on the hill?
Had quite a,
It was about 2.5 miles.
Oh yeah, we always walked.
Yeah.
Unless somebody with a car come along and picked us up. But as a general rule, no, just walked everywhere I went.
How has the pandemic affected you since I already mentioned that I couldn't come over here for all those months, and now we just have one visitor per day. So now that I have visited today, nobody else can come tomorrow. I think they're going to loosen that up a little bit in a few weeks. But overall, how has the pandemic impacted you? What are your thoughts about it?
I watch it, the morning news, and find out what's going on and how many have died and so on and so forth. Once I gather all the latest news, I turn it off and I go to my personal life and I work puzzles and read downstairs if they have something going on, a game or something, go to meetings, but I block it out the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep thinking about it because it depresses me.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to keep in touch with what's going on,
But not obsess
but I
over it.
don't want to obsess over it. I've got my own life and I have to keep myself cheerful.
Mm-hmm.
Can't let myself get depressed. And I've got plenty to do to keep busy and keep happy.
Chuck has one more question.
Okay.
How did you keep Sarah and I, what was the question? How did you keep Marylee and Sarah from fighting?
From fighting?
You didn't.
Oh, no, I
We
didn't.
didn't really fight.
No, I didn't.
We didn't fight.
Yeah, no. Well, sometimes I'd interfere. I'd have to get in the middle of it.
You know, one of those things about siblings is that as my sister and I have been in our, I guess, we're in our 8th decade now because we're in our 70s, which blew me away when I realized that. I was a couple years in and I thought I was in my 7th decade and I'm in my 8th decade because I'm past 70.
How did he know you fought?
He doesn't know necessarily. I guess I don't know if he. I don't know. I don't know how he
He
knows. He assumes the
that
siblings
you-
fight. And the interesting thing, because as my sister and I have gotten older this last decade or so, we have made so many discoveries about our personality differences, our familial similarities, and our personality differences. And I'll tell a quick story. When we were young, after my dad died, Mom was able to get a little bit bigger house after she got her job at the post office. So Sarah and I shared a room. She had a room and my brother had a room. Well, Sarah and I did not cohabitate in that room as efficiently and as lovingly as we could have. Part of it was because her personality, she was a night owl and she would want to clean and straighten up at night, and I was an early get up early girl. So part of that was just not working. So Mom started sharing a room and we gave Sarah her own room. Mother and I were perfectly compatible because we both went to bed early and we both got up early, and we had a little more of a lively existence in the way that we operated versus my sister, more serious, more pragmatic. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with either one. It's just a matter of differences. And it's beautiful as you recognize that. The gifts that you have as a person and the gifts that others have as a person may not be the same, but they're often compatible, and good for us to understand. So
that worked beautifully.
so anyway, that ended up
That was fine.
we're gonna, I heard another jingle. Did somebody ask me, did he ask me another question? Oh, Chuck says, I have my ways of knowing.
Oh.
Chuck's known us for too long. The only question that I have left, that I think has any impact is, and I don't know if you even want to answer this, but, for someone searching for direction in life, a young person, maybe young adult, maybe wanting to change jobs or something, from what you have seen in life, what advice would you give someone who's kind of at a threshold of maybe needing to make a change or wanting to make a change? Any thoughts about how to approach that?
Well, just let them go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think.
Let them make choices.
Mm-hmm.
Guide them if you can. I mean, ask questions to be sure that they know what they're doing, but don't tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just let them go. Let them make their own mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Let them figure it out.
We learn a lot from mistakes.
Yeah.
We're all going to make mistakes.
Well, I wasn't a very.
We just had a comment that said, I love this. Thank you for doing it. I would listen to the two of you anytime.
Oh, well, thank you, whoever you are.
It's Bobby.
Well,
Okay, well, thank you so much for tuning in and watching our chat. It's been fun for